Aloha, everybody, and welcome to Stargate to the Cosmos. And I'm your host, Janet Care Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, and our producer is Samad Painter, also known as Thomas Becker. And let's see, we are on Revolution Radio, Studio B, and our guest today is Thiago Luiz Ticchetti, and I hope I pronounced that okay. And Doctor wants to speak first, and then I will have Thiago. I'll have you tell us about yourself because I'm trying to get my system to reboot. It's almost there. What would you like to say, honey?
Thiago, I heard on our national public radio that basically the military has staged a coup and has taken over the government in Brazil. And I just wonder, is there any reality to that? And you see what's going on with you? Has the military taken over Brazil?
No. The military is not taking over Brazil. The military doesn't. They don't want it. You're passing through very, very hard times because our president, democratically elected, but our president has a very long tongue. You know, he speaks what he wants to say. So, and he made bad choices. I voted on him. But I regret because I didn't expect that they could do such a thing, like try to get into secret files of investigation of one of his son. So, well, disappointed. But the military is not taking over Brazil now.
Oh, I'm glad because this sounded very alarming about his cabinet and people harkening back to the days when there was a dictatorship. And they said there's always in the shadow the fear of a military takeover, and that this is a big, even if it's not explicit, that is a fact that Brazilians are all aware of. And I just never heard all that before, and I just wanted to run it by you. Thanks for responding.
Okay, Thiago, I finally got your, I have a web page on aquarianradio.com for our listeners to go, and there's lots of images and bio and information on Thiago. But since we're live with you, why don't you tell us about your background and and how you got into ufology and MUFON, and then you have a number of books. Tell us about your books. So start with, who are you? And how did you get ufology?
Well, I always say that I was born with ufology in my blood. My father was a Brazilian Air Force pilot, and he liked the subject, the UFO phenomenon. And I think, he pushed me in a good way to understand more about ufology. When I was 8 years old, I saw a UFO in Rio de Janeiro, where I live, in 1982. And then I started to read everything about UFOs. Every magazine, Revista UFO Magazine, and the other types of magazines I started to read. And when I was 17, I moved to England. I live in Eddlestone in England. And then when I came back to Brazil, I moved to Brasilia, and here I was 17. I was 19 years old, and I started to research UFO. So, I start in Revista UFO Magazine as a translator to test. To articles from other countries in English. And now I'm a co-editor of the UFO Magazine Brazil, Revista UFO Brazil. And 3 years ago, I was invited to be the assistant of the national director of MUFON in Brazil. And I made the field certification of MUFON. Now I'm also a MUFON certificate field. And member of a star team of MUFON. Well, this is a resume of my history in ufology. Well, yeah, I also wrote 11 books. I published 11 books about UFOs here in Brazil.
Wow.
One in English, 10 in Portuguese.
Wow. So, how does ufology differ in Brazil?
And what about the one that you saw?
Oh, yeah, we wanted to do that too. So, answer whatever question you want to first. Your choice. We talk over each other. We shouldn't do that. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, the UFO that I saw, well, it was we can call like a close encounter of the zero kind. The simple sighting. I was in Rio and I saw a red light coming descending from the sky. Is a red and disappear in a mountain that we call Pedra da Gávea in Rio de Janeiro. Gávea is stone. And well, sometime later, I don't remember how long, this light appeared again, much bigger and brighter in a red color, and it made a zigzag movement and then spit away to the stars. Well, I was 8 years old, but I have lived in Air Force bases, and my father was a pilot. So I knew, even with 8 years old, I knew it was an airplane or a balloon or helicopter. Well, we didn't have drones in 1982. So I'm very sure that what I saw was not a man-made aircraft.
Uh-huh.
And what was the second question?
I was going to go into, so you have 11 and your father encouraged you to go into ufology, which is very interesting. And so what are the books about? So this isn't about your personal, you don't think that you're a bad experience or contactee? Or do you have any recollection of anything beyond, seeing UFOs in the sky?
No, but this because I lost some of your voice is cutting. Can you repeat it?
Oh, okay.
Are you an experiencer? She wants to know if you had contact with extraterrestrials.
Have you hypnotized yourself to see if there was anything more behind that initial sighting when you were 8 years old? Have you gone deeper into it? A lot of people have an initial sighting and then they decide to go through hypnosis, and then once they get into their subconscious level, they find out, oh yeah, that was more than just a light in the sky. There was an encounter. Have you done anything like that?
No, I didn't because it was a simple sighting. I didn't have missing time. I remember that. I remember because I was not alone. I was with my brother and some friends. I was not the only one, and I can remember clearly when it started and when it ended. And I'm pretty sure that I don't have the missing time. I never had a dream like the abductees or the contactees have, like flashes of alien beings or a fear of owls or fear of a light, something like that. I never had that. So I think that I just have this the sighting and nothing more.
Okay. Well, yeah, we don't want to lead the witness or introduce information. So what's the basis of your 11 books? Are they different topics, different sighting? What is the basis of your 11 books on ufology?
Yes, I wrote 11 books, as I said. 3 of them is about UFO cases around the world in Portuguese. I wrote in Portuguese. 2 of them is about UFO crashes on Earth. I have one about UFO typology, when I made the research to figure out what type the format, the shape of the UFO. And I have two books, first and second edition of Alien Typology, like UFO Typology. I researched 1,000 of cases to try to separate the types of aliens, and I figured out that based on reports, I figured out that at least 72 types of aliens visited us since the beginning, since the reports were made. And I have other two books that are all my articles and columns in magazines and newspapers and internet. So this and my 11th book, the new one, is about the UFO contacts in Brazil. Most of the cases that happened in Brazil, the most important cases that happened in Brazil pre-1930s to 2015.
Wow, pre-1930s. What was your question, Sasha?
Well, I just want to know about the main types and which ones are current and which ones are no longer. And you
talk about the types of aliens. So, where did you get all this information? Types of aliens? Do you have pictures of these types of aliens? Tell us more about that. We'll start with that one.
Yeah, I researched more than 8,000 cases all over the world in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian. I use it to research in books, in reports. I got in touch with ufologists, researchers of the cases. I got in touch with some of witnesses of the cases, like Travis Walton was one of them. So in these 8,000 cases, I got that almost 2,000 of these cases had all the information that I needed to describe in details the type of aliens. So I wrote the case where the alien appeared, one of the case, and forensic artist in Brazil of the civil police in Brazil of Paraná state, he draw these aliens to my book. So he had all the report with detail of the alien, and he could draw it, and I put it in my book. So it was a very deep research, and the draw was very detailed because he got all the information. He's the professional that when the police find a school, for example, a school or bones, and he's the professional that have to draw over that school how could it be the face of the victim. So he's a very experienced professional, and he draw all my aliens of my book.
So that book is what language is that book available in?
It's in Portuguese.
It's in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I would love to see you get translated into English, because that's almost like a
especially with the art in it too.
With the art.
Yes. I have an idea. I have plans to translate to English, even if I sell only in ebook format. I don't care. But I think it's very, very interesting book.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Put us alive when you get that translated, because I'm in the field, right? We'd like to have a comprehensive book like that. I mean, even if you just have 72 types, I know there's probably more than 72. But now in that research there, what is the number one sighting? What type is the number one type of alien, and so on? Do you have the top 10 aliens that people see? Top 20 countdown.
Yeah.
Those type of.
Is it different in different areas? Is it different in Brazil than in China?
Right. So first of all, what's the top type? Is it the grays or is it something else?
Yes. Since the 90s, the grays are the top. Before that was like the Nordic. We call Nordic the aliens that looks like us, and we have all types. We have type aliens like insects. We have aliens like humans. We have aliens. It's like animals, like a Bigfoot. So it's very, very, very several types of aliens, and many of them just appear for some period of time. For example, a type that looks like apes with a helmet, very thin but very strong and very short. They were reported in between 1952 to 1955 in Chile, Argentina, Venezuela, and Peru. The most known case about this type of aliens happened in Venezuela when they tried to abduct a truck driver in 1954. And this truck driver fought with 4 aliens, small aliens like 1 meter and 20 centimeters high, tall. And he tried to cut one of these aliens with a knife, but the knife broke because his hair in his body was so tough, so hard, that he couldn't punch it and break the knife.
Wow.
Do you think that was a force field, or was that the actual material that the alien was made from?
No, it's like it was his skin. His skin is covered with a hair, so probably they have some protection. There was not a shield. We don't know. It's very, very hard. Mm-hmm. The hair is very hard.
So this book, you broke it down by areas as well as types, and then the years. That's interesting. I really need this book. Get this one, Kristen.
Yeah, I agree.
That is really a phenomenal concept. I'm trying to envision it in my mind, but it's a wonderful reference book. So you have them based on parts of the world. So this was. Hey, I'd like to see that. So this book, you broke it down by area, whatever.
Nordic.
The Nordics, were they just in one part of the world? Were they all over the world? Because, were they in white cultures and you saw the white aliens, or was it in
Well, I think what they say historically is that the people that settled in the Gobi, first of all, were Maldecans. And they're really different than the Atlanteans who settled first in Atlantis. And this is so far back that there may be some real big differences in the area. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The Greys just appeared from the 90s. But they are the top 10 since then, since back the time. And the Nordic...
do you think Whitley Strieber's reports about the Greys, what was that, 86, 87, with communion behind people starting to see the Greys? Theory on that?
Yeah, the Greys got into the pop culture. So many of the cases of the Greys are illusion, or not illusion, probably illusion or lies, or people that trying to explain something and they think, well, let's say that I saw a Grey. Well, most of these reports are untrue. We know that. In ufology, we know that 95% of sightings can be explained by normal explanations. But this 5%, it's the big deal. And we can use this account, this math, we can use it to the contactees and abductions. We can do it. And the grays appeared after Communion Book in 1987, and got stronger after David Jacobs' work, after Buddy Hopkins' work, and the Bruce Maccabee, and many of this big research. But the Nordic, the Tolwites, well, they are seeing the Bible. They were angels. They were angels, and they are reported now, but much less than the 17th, the 16th, the 17th.
So the Nordics were seen until what year? 17. They were seen until what year? That was like the early contact. The early contacts in the 50s were like being invited to go on board ships, like a big rock in California, and they had 20,000 people. The ship would land, and what was his name? Adamski would go on board.
Yeah, Adamski. So
that when did that end? How does Betty and Barney Hill's? Because Betty and Barney Hill were in the 60s, but in the 70s they started doing the movies. But then you're saying that it wasn't until the 90s that the Greys became popular. What happened in the transition there between the Nordics and Betty and Barney Hill and the Southern Communion?
Well, to the beginning, Barney and Betty Hill didn't saw Greys. They saw another type of aliens. The type of aliens that they saw, that were not Greys. They were much. Well, they are looks like the aliens that was recovered on Roswell crash. Small beings with big eyes, but with pupils in their eyes. The Greys, there's no pupils, just black eyes. And the Barney and Betty Hill, the aliens of Barney and Betty Hill, they were using like clothes. The Greys don't use clothes. I'm based on the reports of the Barney and Betty Hill, and I don't know if there's an end of the reports of the Nordics. I think they still are reported, but we cannot claim when started the Greys and when stopped the Nordic. I think they both are here, but
he should
today,
get the electronic enema from.
To answer. Why now we have much more Greys than other types of aliens? Why? It's because the culture is because what we saw on TV. We don't know. It's a very tough question. Yeah. Many of these aliens doesn't appear anymore.
Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry, I was talking over you. Say that again. No, then I have a thing to inject. Say that last sentence again.
Many of this type of aliens don't appear anymore. They probably came to our planet, did what they have to do, and they left. That's all.
Mm-hmm. This could be a vacation destination.
Yes, I always say that. Why they are here? Well, they are here because they are scientists, and we are their lab rats. Mm-hmm. They are here for tourism. They are visiting our planet. They spend a weekend in our planet. They come to our planet just to get some water to put in their UFOs and go to another planet. We don't know. Every theory or possibility must be open because we don't have the answer.
Now, have you researched the encounters where there was greater communication? The ones they we had dialogues. The later ones, it's like just a lot of rats, a lot in the loop on the answers. But the earlier ones seem to have intelligent conversation.
By telepathy, never using the mouth, by telepathy.
Right, and I am an experiencer, and I've met many of these, and it's definitely telepathic. But even within the species, the reptilian telepathy is much harder to endure. It's very, I don't know how to say, it's very profound. It goes right to your soul. Like there's no separation. When a reptilian reads your mind, they know everything. A gray probably knows everything, but you don't. It's not two ways. You don't know anything. you're like in a mystery. But
yeah.
Different type of explain it. It's just it's like you're so raw with the reptilian. There's nothing left of yourself. You can't keep even the smallest portion of your being separate. They know it all back to first thought, the thought of creation of your soul, right? But the grace is a different type of communication. It seems to be more. But have you been able to? What about the reptilians? What types of reptilians are they? The Earth group reptilians are looking at the Dracos. Are you looking at there's so many different types. Each species, there's so many different types. What are your cases like regarding reptilians?
Well, we have cases from reptilians, but these reptilians, the most part of the cases occurred just in the United States. It's a curiosity because we don't have in Brazil. We don't have in Brazil. I didn't find any case in Brazil about the reptilians, but I found a lot of cases in the United States, some in Europe, a very few in Europe, and most curiosity is that in some cases the reptilians are with grays. They are working together.
Yes.
So we don't know if the first grays here were clones, just soldiers just to do the dirty job, and now and behind them, commanding him, or the reptilians. We don't know, and this is fascinating because it's even as deeper that we go, more questions we have than answers.
Well, that's fascinating. What about David Icke's experiences with the shape-shifting reptilians who are supposed to be the royals, like the Queen? Have you investigated any of those type of cases?
Dave Jacobs?
David Icke. It's from the UK, David Icke.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah, I know him. I know. Well, I'm very skeptic of a lot of things. I read about the David Icke papers and reports and what he's saying, but I didn't. That don't convince me. I'm not sure. I don't have any evidence of that. To be honest,
right.
I didn't find any evidence. I like to do a scientific work with evidence. Even ufology is not a science, but to do so, to research ufology, you have to be based on scientific method and evidence. So what David Icke claims cannot be proven.
Yeah, it's really hard to prove anything, actually.
It is.
Here's testimonial, then you have shared experiences, then you have regressions, retrieved memories. Very few things have actual concrete physical evidence. You have things that are witnessed by several people.
I'm not saying that he's lying. Okay, I'm not saying he's lying, but just don't convince me of that.
So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I'm just saying that as a researcher, when you get information or evidence or whatever, it's in different categories, and it's very hard to prove anything. I've had one shared experience with somebody else. So I had a couple of witnesses for different things, right? Uh-huh. That's always a good one. It's like when you have it and there's more than one person. But what we really don't know is it could be, group hallucination. It could be injected memory. I mean, so the UFO field is far more complex than we ever imagined it would be to actually prove something. And you could even be on a ship. And we have one case where this woman was on a ship with 3 or 4 of the people in her neighborhood, and they had children up there, and they were showing the children. But then when she met the lady in the grocery store, her memories were blocked. She said, "I saw you on the ship." What? You're a crazy thing, right? So
yeah.
Have witnesses. So, it's a fun field. Okay. Sasha, you've been waiting patiently. What's your question?
Well, I don't have a question. For me, it's there's another way of looking at all of this, which is phenomenologically. What is the person's reality that they're communicating, and how does it work, and how does that explicate their take on things? And it's all very, very interesting. And I believe that all human words or mathematics or drawings are hypothetical constructs that we use to sort out the plethora of data for our own particular organization, and none is particularly more valid than others. So that I apply Occam's razor, which is what is the most parsimonious, what is the simplest way, and accounts for most of the data and doesn't leave the most out. And it's just held as a temporary hypothesis. It's the way I look at things a bit.
Yeah. That's true as well. That's true.
So David, I came to our house in the early parts of the 2000s, and so, I was interviewing him, and it's like, well, what did you actually see? And so he was describing how he sat in the chair getting ready to go into BBC. He was a sportscaster, and I think he had, who was it? One of the politicians, was it Blair? I don't know who it was at the time. One of the leading politicians. He was in a makeup chair. There was a blank chair between them, and
no, it was President Carter.
Anyway, it was somebody. Anyway, so the makeup artist left the room, and they were alone, and the other guy, and he had no preconceived notions about this. No, listen, I'm talking in the UK, that's one person. Anyway, the politician shape-shifted right in front of him and showed him eyes, and it was like, so that was his first encounter, and then he said, since he had one encounter, then all he had a lot of fans, right? And they talk and they say, and they all started sending letters, or if they see in person, and he said he had about 10 people saying, "What about the reptilians?" And then that came into his consciousness, and then it's kind of like when you have red car, you buy a red car, and all you see is red cars of the same make and model. It was like then all of his encounters were people talking about reptilians, and we don't know what influences what. Suddenly, this reptilian story became the dominant part of his life, at least for that era. And then he wrote the one with the alien reptilian. He started going into it more. So I always wondered, what are our influences? How much are we influencing reality, or how much is our reality, influencing us? And so when Whitney Stryber introduced communion, then everybody started seeing that, that he had a visual. And I just wonder if your book got out into the world with all those visuals, how much your book could influence the field of ufology when people would have a reference and go, "Oh, yeah, that's a so-and-so." And it's really great that you have the police artists, the forensic artists doing it.
We can make computer games out of the characters.
Yeah, we could have a virtual reality of.
If my books will be sent to the world, many of the people probably gonna think, "Whoa, that's what I saw. That was the type of alien I saw." And the other one, and the other one's gonna say, "Well, I think that I saw that thing." We don't have it, sure. But I think that the book can help in this way to people to see that they are not the only one to solve that.
And then you could expand. Send in descriptions. We'll have our forensic artists do yours. This could be a series. This could be a video.
Well, the other thing is that you pretended that you're Linnaeus and you're going to make a taxonomy of these different categories that you have, just the drawings you have, and sort them into groups and see if there's core groups. And I bet you there's something like that going on.
Yes, I did that. I separate them on groups, so you can if you find if some kind of aliens appear, that's not in my book. He can be put in one of the 4 different groups. The groups are humanoids, animals, roboticus, and exoticus. So we can arrange in one of these 4 groups, big groups, and inside of this group it has some type and some characteristics that are different from each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because one time I was with a group.
Fingers and stuff.
I had the real short. I call them grays, because we don't know what they are. And then there were the ones that were more like between 4 and 5 feet tall, and I'm 5'2", so they're about my height. There was a super tall gray who seemed to be the big boss, but this was not a pure gray. It looked like a gray mantis hybrid. So that was interesting. That was
I have in my book as well.
Right. These 3 groups. There was a long encounter, and I recovered more under hypnosis. And then some of it was that's one where I had the witness. I had a boyfriend witness. So it seems like sometimes the extraterrestrials mix and match DNA. They're like all geneticists, It's like, we'll combine a little bit of this and that. Like, look at that. I was talking to something about Ganesha, and Hanuman. Those are the ones that go back in India. And, of course, Ganesha looks like a humanoid, but it has an elephant nose. What about those types of beings? They're opposing fingers. So they're walking on their legs upright. They have hands, the finger, but then they're, like Thoth is an ibis, right? But sometimes he's supposed to be a human. He's supposed to be a tall white, or an Anunnaki. What do you do with those type of species?
We have in my group. I have some aliens that seems like to be a mix of aliens, of course, and to put in a specific group, I look for the bigger part of a gray with face of a mantis. I put in because he looks like a mantis much more than a gray. So I put him in insectoid in Animalia classification. But it's very interesting because in this book you can find several types of aliens, as I said, but doesn't mean that they come from 72 types of planets. Many of them are so close to each other with some different details. They could be like our planet as well. We are all human, but we have some different humans from China, from Brazil, from Europe. So just slight differences. And I sent you to Skype chat. I sent you some of the drawings of my book.
Okay, I'm gonna look and see if I can. Okay, I'm gonna wait till the break to join. We're gonna break it in about 8 minutes. Then I'll go look. I don't want to click on it; it might screw up our connection here. But I'll go check on the chat. That's exciting! I can't wait to see that. So in your story, so you're getting these pictures from the stories, the interviews, and a lot of them are recorded. Are you listening to recordings, or are these just typed up reports, or what form are the reports that you're getting?
Photos.
Yeah, what are you getting when you get your reports? For your
Well,
for the back.
I got the reports from other books, from researchers that studied some of the cases, and I got the reports from the witnesses. I got some witnesses in Brazil, in Argentina, in the United States, and Europe. So I tried to get in touch with these people to get more information as possible.
So how far back in time are you going? Because there's a lot of historical records. I mean, when you think about it, we have elves, we have all kinds of non-human species on Earth. What are you going to say?
Well, just Jacob was coming home, and this angel, a big muscular white man with a beard, started fighting with him, and Jacob won, and so the angel said, "Okay, if you let me up, I'll give you a blessing. Your name will be Israel, he who beat a angel."
Yeah.
How far does your book go back? What's the first case? What's the year?
Well, the first case was in 1996. It was a case in the United States. The aliens looks like a human, but not like a Nordic. He was bald. I'm looking for this name of the person that got this case, but was in 1896 the first case, the ancient case of my book.
Wow.
Oh, 1896.
Yeah.
1896, yeah.
The humanoid, bald.
Yes, the humanoid, bald.
And what part of the U.S. was this at? Do you know what state?
Yeah, I do. I'm getting here right now. I just opened my book too.
Okay.
Just because too much. Let me see here. I don't know. 1996. Let's find it. It was June. Man, too many pages.
It's clicker's clicking.
You got a quicker.
I got it there. Well, the first was here. Was in new census, another search. Was in Lodge, California, in November 25th, 1896. The witnesses was Colonel H.G. Shaw and Camille Spooner. The alien was like very thin, bald, normal eyes, but very, very thin, and was carrying a bag and like a flashlight in his left hand. So very human, but with no hair.
And they thought he was not human because he was so thin. What made them think he wasn't human? What was the difference between a human and him?
Yeah, and what did they have flashlights in 1896?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Why did they think he? Yeah. What made this is not human?
Because the aliens trying to abduct them to a UFO that was landed. It's a cylindrical object that was hovering over a river, and this being has no hair, but his skin is like very fluffy, and they had no ears as well, and a small mouth. So this being was very, very tall, 1.8 meters tall, and they tried to abduct them to a cylindrical object that was over a river.
Wow.
That's fun. So what are the other cases that stand out?
It sounds like he failed to, the abduction
They
failed.
failed to, yeah, so tried to abduct him.
Yeah, they tried to. They failed.
What happened to the did?
I didn't hear, sorry.
What happened that they did not succeed in abducting these humans?
They run away.
They ran down.
Yeah, they run away. They run away.
Yeah, we have stories of people fighting aliens sometimes and succeeding and getting through and touching them and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very rare that they get through to hurt the aliens or do any harm. Did you have something you were going to say, Sasha? No. Okay. So, so that was in 1896. What was the next one that we saw back in time? It was in California.
In California, let me see here.
No, your first one was in California. What was the next one in time? Going back in time. What was the next one in your book?
Well, my book is not to classify by date, but by typology. But I have cases here since 2009, because in my book there's also a database with all types of sightings. So I have the first in 1986, and then I have in find here. Okay. I have in 1980s, in 80s, 1880, 8096, 8097, a lot of 8097, a lot of types of aliens like human, and I have in 1910, 1912, 1913, 1914, since until 2000. My last case in my book is in 2017.
2017. Have you thought of making a website with all this? This would be a great resource.
Yeah, I thought it, but I have. I just need more time to do it.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah, ufology. Nowadays, ufology is my hobby because I have to work. I work like a normal citizen, and I already told it to my wife. Yeah, when I already told to my wife, when I get retired, I'm gonna be ufologist full time. So she knows that.
Well, maybe I don't know, people do Patreon. Say, look, I want to the world. Look, I want to devote my life to this, but I need support. And if 500 people pay me $5 a month, I'll be able to do this or something like that. It's
probably. Probably.
Yeah. You're a provider, resource for the planet.
And put that in the last page of this book when you publish it, so that people can contribute to your continued efforts.
Because you've got the same in the with the ships and stuff. So this is a resource. I know MUFON and other places are trying to do this too, but it seems like you've already done a lot of the work. So
yeah.
We have a lot of we have several books. Not too many, but we have at least 3 or 4 books about alien typology. But my book, very humble, but my books is the most completed because I got much more information, much more types of aliens. I tried to separate, to divide the types of aliens. So I hope that someone wrote a better book. I just wanted that ufology, this aspect of ufology, get researched reach much more people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be great to get this out to a much wider audience in the world, because this would up-level all of the...
Just so a few selected models of what kind of thing they'll find in your book. One especially that Janet will put up.
Yeah, we're here to promote you. I think it's your work is great. I love what you've been doing, and
thank you.
Support you. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get the book in English for the world. So that's well, you can go with like Fiverr or something. They could translate.
Oh, it's so it's so easy. I use Google Translate. I read everything in Spanish and in English, and I just let them do the Spanish, and I check it, and it's pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we're working on this world. So yeah, I'm gonna check this out. Just be patient. Send him $5 a month to quit his day job, and he can focus on this. There you go. Okay, we're going to run up on our break in 2 minutes. So,
what I'm going to ask you when we come back from the break is what your take is about these giftings of craft at Roswell and the whole story of the Serpo exchange.
Oh, yeah, we got to go over the crashes.
Yeah.
And some of the big cases. Well, you might have other cases. We have our research, but we're kind of up here in the United States. You might have some other focuses. Like, I guess the French have a lot of interaction with beings. And, this isn't the only place.
The Amici in Italy.
Right, the Amici, yeah. Yeah, wow. So we have a lot to cover. We only have 1 more hour, so we're not going to get to all that. We're not quite there yet. So what do you want to cover in the last half?
Well, we can talk about the case in Brazil, very interesting cases about UFO crashes in Brazil, or the plate operation in Brazil, or Virginia case in Brazil. We have a lot of subjects.
Okay,
great. Brazilian cases.
So we'll do the Brazil case, and do you have a website?
Yes, I do. I do in YouTube. Just type Thiago Ticchetti. I can send to you the link in a chat.
Good.
Okay, good. Yes, we'll make sure that that's up on the website page that we create. So, and I'll have to look up the rest of your books. I didn't know you had 11 books. I found 4 or 5 of them. So
I saw it.
Yeah, they're not all on Amazon, right? There was not 11 books, I don't think.
Amazon.
Maybe somebody out there translate. Seems like you have really good research where you can get people out there, maybe volunteers or people who can help you get this information out to the world.
Would be great.
That'd be great. All right. Well, the music will be here any second now. And you've been listening to Revolution Radio, Studio B. And I'm your host, Janet Lessin, with Dr. Sasha Lessin. And producer is Thomas Becker, a mad painter. And our guest is Thiago Luiz Ticchetti. And we're talking about Brazilian ufology, but it covers the whole world. All right, I'm ready for the music. Are you ready with the music? It's already here by now. Anyway, what's your weather like?
Excuse me? What's mine?
What's your like? Okay. Okay, we're off. We have 5 minutes. We'll see you after the break. 5 minutes. This is Stargate. I'm your host, Janet Lessin, and I'm here with Dr. Sasha Lessin, my co-host. I'm a mad painter. Thomas Becker is our producer. Thiago Luiz Ticchetti is our guest today. But before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to the donation button on revolution.radio and make your donation. I go to the donation tab at the top of revolution.radio website and make your one-time donation, or go to the Patreon button and make $1 a month. 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 $1 a your recurring donation. And we really do thank you very much for your donations because that allows us to keep bringing in these shows. Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say as we begin our second hour?
We're in for a real treat now because what we've got is the outstanding and most interesting cases from Brazil. We heard a lot about our American cases, and so Thiago's going to rap about some of the really interesting cases.
Yes. Tell us about your latest book. What is the name of that again, and focused on a particular case?
Yeah, my latest book is UFO Contacts in Brazil. It was published by the Flying Disc Press of Mental in England. And it's covered the greatest cases of ufology in Brazil. Since pre-1930s to 2015, I got the most important cases. And Brazil is a huge country. It's like a continent. It's the size of a continent. And we have all types of, cases in Brazil. We have abductions, we have UFO crashes, we have alien contacts, we have pilots reports, we have a lot of things. And some of the cases are very unknown outside of Brazil, like Ubatuba case, and Vilas Boas abduction case as well. But the most part of these cases that are in my book have more than 500 pages and more than 300 photos or illustrations. So it's a very, very big book. And there's a cases that is beyond our imagination.
So what was the most outstanding case? Like I'm reading here that there was a presence of a UFO over a prison in the Brazilian capital, and there was the death of a witness after being struck by lightning from a UFO. Tell us about those and other outstanding cases.
Yeah, well, I can start by the case that happened in 1986 that we call the official night of the UFOs, when on 1986, 21 UFOs were detected by radar and people on the ground in the skies of several cities in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Brasília, São José dos Campos, and São Paulo. The control towers, traffic control, they spot several UFOs in the sky. And the Brazilian Air Force sent 5 jet fighters, 2 Mirages and 3 F-5s to pursue and try to identify these objects. Well, what happened is that what happened was the opposite, because the UFOs started to chase the objects, the airplanes. Mm-hmm. And in one occasion, one of the pilots, the Captain Jordan, he was piloting an F-5 jet fighter, and he got in contact with the control tower and said, well, I have 5 UFOs in my left and 6 UFOs in my right. What can I do? He had no information. He has no reaction of what's happened. And the most important is this whole dog and cat fight took more than 6 hours. And wow. Then, yes, and when this aircraft landed, the next day, the Ministry of the Brazilian Air Force called for a press conference, and they spoke in front of more than 220 reporters that what the Brazilian Air Force pilot chased it was intelligence and it wasn't a man-made aircrafts. So for the first time, Brazilian Air Force claimed that something invaded our space and we could not avoid them.
Were they able to keep up with them? Because that's an indicator of their technology. Were they UFOs able to just blink in and out and get out of range, or were the aircraft able to keep up with them? What happened?
No, the airplanes trying to get closer to the UFOs, and the UFOs seems like were playing with the Brazilian fighters. Yeah, they let their plane get closer, and then they speed away and stop it. And the fight was getting closer again. They speed away and passing through over their plane several times, and playing. And the UFOs was not big; they were just a meter diameter, 1 meter of diameter. So it's not, probably there's no entity inside of the UFOs. We call that probably going to be probes, alien extraterrestrial probes that was doing this display. So which is amazing because we have all the types, the tapes of the conversation between the pilots and the control of the traffic control in São Paulo, in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. We have all this for free on internet. It's in Portuguese, but we have it.
So you have the videos of it?
Yeah. We are looking for. We know that at least 2 of the airplanes had cameras to film, and we asked for the Brazilian Air Force by the Information Act, Freedom of Information Act in Brazil. We have a law like you have the FOIA we have here in Brazil, and we asked them for these films, and they told us that, well, we don't have it, but we know they do because the pilots said so. They said, they claim that, well, we film the UFOs, but we're still looking for this filming.
So we had recently the Pentagon did another level, and they officially acknowledged the Tic Tac UFO, which had come out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was in the Times, so now we have official verification that, at least as far as the U.S. government, those Tic Tac UFOs were not theirs, or not of earthly origin. So your Brazilian government has not yet officially released any of these evidence.
The Brazil has much more problems to deal with. The ufology matter is not top 10 of that, and yeah, it's sad to say that, but it's true. And we know that they have a lot of information, a lot of reports, and a lot of photos and films that still are on secret files. And probably with this claim of the Navy, American Navy, about the Tic Tac and the other films, maybe the Brazilian government could see with other eyes and say, well, if they are say that this is true, let's do the same. We hope so.
Yeah. So, okay, so that is just there. It's a mystery. we've got documentation, witnesses, and that was huge. It was 22 craft, kind of like our thing over the Capitol, 52. We had a bunch of craft, all at once, but nothing ever came of that. What about this guy that got struck by lightning? Oh, I guess he got killed.
Yeah, I was like, what happened to Travis?
But Travis apparently realized that he had died. Travis Walton was revised on the craft. He was gone for 4 or 5 days, whatever it was. What about this person? Did anybody ever publicly acknowledge that this guy died by UFO lightning?
Yes. This João Prestes case. This case happened in 1946. 1946. The ufology the modern era of ufology just began on 1947 after Kenneth Arnold sighting. So this happened in 1946 when João Prestes was returning to his home when he saw a light in the sky, and for some reason, this light showed him a beam of light, and that hit him in a chest. And after 9 hours, he was dead. And the most impressive thing is that his flesh started to fall, just leaving the bones, and the flesh was melting. Very, very similar what happened to the victims of Hiroshima and Nagasaki when they had the atomic bomb. So we are saying that in 1946, something hit him that caused the same consequences of the Japanese suffer in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We are saying about something atomic weapon, and he fell just 9 hours after. Just 9 hours after he was struck by the light, he was dead. It's a very, very interesting case. Well, I wrote in detail in my book, and they have a report of the doctor that tried to help him, and the doctor said, "Well, I don't know what happened. I really believe that he was struck by something from another planet, because it's impossible to do it, the thing."
Did they think it was radiation poisoning?
Radiation, yeah. The light, some reason, had some kind of radiation that killed him.
Oh, I was just thinking about, I remember when I was starting out in ufology. Now I'm older than you, I'm 66. So back in the 60s, I started picking up some books. My brother was already a ufologist. He's 7 years older, so he started back in the early. There was a case somewhere in America, which is a big place, where one of the earliest cases where a man was reporting that he was taken on board the craft, and there was this woman that had wanted him to have sex with him. Do you remember that? It was like one of the earliest cases.
Yes.
It blew my mind. Do you know what that one's called?
Yes, Vilas Boas.
Antonio Vilas Boas. Okay, what do you tell us about that?
Yes, a very, very known case in the whole world. Happened much, much before than the Barnum and Battle Hill, because Barnum and Battle Hill was the first to get, interest from the press. But Vilas Boas happened in 1957, and Barnum and Battle Hill was in 65, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
So he He was in October 5th, 1957. It was around 11 p.m. So it was very hot during the day. So Vilas Boas, he was working in a farm, and he planted in a farm during the night because the day was very hot. And he was in his tractor, and he saw a light in front of him, a small light, but very, very different from stars. And this light started to move forward and backward. And he stopped his tractor, and the light came very fast and got bigger, until the light was not just a light, it was a spacecraft. And this spacecraft landed in front of him. And from this spacecraft came 3 beings wearing a gray-green suit like divers, with a helmet and tubes that went to his backs, and took him inside the UFO. Well, inside the UFO, they took all his clothes off and trying to, let's say, clean him with a sponge, with liquid like oil, and used the sponge all over his body, and then took some sample of blood from his chin, and they left him in a room with no window, with no furniture, besides a bed, just a type of bed. And when he was there, a female entity, something like that, an alien female, entered the room, and he was very afraid, but at the same time, he got very excited by this lady, this female, and they had sex. And after they finished it, he asked her, "Where are you from? And what are you doing?" And she just smiled to him, pointed to her belly, and pointed to the sky, and she left the room. And the Vilas Boas put his clothes on again, and they left him side by side with the tractor, and they left. He was used by a alien, female alien, and well, he was a very simple person. He became a lawyer years later, and he never refused to discuss this. He never got any money with that, never wanted any publicity. But if you reach him and if you talk to him and ask him about this case, he would tell you, because for him it was true, and he has no reason to lie. And this is a very, very interesting case as well.
Well, this is very interesting because it shows that humans can be sexually aroused by, things beyond this earth. Was he aroused because of his woman, or was he aroused because they were doing something to him? And anyway, so we hear this all the time with abductees.
Yeah.
They don't know why, but they're suddenly having sex with somebody or something that they wouldn't under normal circumstances. So somehow they can activate those erotic centers within somebody and cause them to,
it was in 1957. They have to do it. They had to do it in the old-fashioned way. Now with the Greys, they get your fetus, put the fetus in the woman. They abduct the woman and they took off the little baby and disappeared. Well,
we hear a lot more of those cases, and yet now, every once again, now and again, you'll hear where they were creating a scenario where they were actually copulating, right?
Yeah.
And people are dumbfounded. Like, I wouldn't have sex with that normally, but all of a sudden they're having sex with them. So that just shows, how helpless we are. It's like thinking, sexuality.
Oh, come on! What about what they do in Australia and New Zealand, honey?
No, we're not going to talk about that. I know there's a I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to fight on that one. No. Okay, so, but that stood out in my mind because that was probably the time I saw it was in the 60s, right? But that was, so these early cases, they're not polluted by later cases. There's kind of a copycat thing. Yeah, that happened to me too. Yeah. I mean, so the early ones, it's like, wow. So that's not my mind.
Yes. I think it's the early cases. There has no much thing to influence you to think. But we have another case in Brazil, very very important case. It happened in 1996 when a UFO crashed in Brazil, in Varginha City. It's a Varginha case. And 5 aliens beings were captured, 2 alive, 3 dead. And the UFO was also captured. And the Brazilian army and the firemen in the Varginha City, they created a big cover to get this alien being and the UFO to the university in São Paulo, the Campinas University in São Paulo, where one of these aliens were made some exams on him. He was already dead. And the coincidence is that 2-3 days later of what happened in Virginia, an aircraft from United States with people from NASA and the Army of United States landed in Virginia City. It's a small city in Brazil. It's not big. It's a big, but it's not a metropolis, And they came to Virginia for some reason, and we have military witnesses that told us that they went to get the bodies of the alien beings and the UFO. And some time later,
what year was it?
97.
This was in 97.
In 1996. 1996.
96. Okay.
1996.
How did they find about it?
So they came to get the dead ones and the live ones too, and the craft.
Yes, they took it. They took it, put in this bigger plane that landed in Virginia, and flew to United States. And some time later, a few months later, the United States invited Brazil to send the first astronauts to the space. So we exchanged a UFO crash, 5 alien beings for a ticket to ride in the space.
Wow. Who negotiated that from the Brazil side?
I don't know. We don't know.
Wow.
We don't know.
I wonder, how did the United States find out about it? See, this is the global thing. We have these individual cases, but these are all connected.
They are connected. They are connected because we know that investigating the case, we discovered that the United States knew for the first hand when the object got in the Earth atmosphere and got in touch with the Brazilian Army, saying that, well, you're gonna have a UFO crash in that city, and they knew that. So the Brazilian was prepared to cover up the information, and the Brazilian army isolated the area, recovered the UFO, recovered the bodies, and made a great operation to capture the two entities that was alive, and they got it.
So the aliens that were alive, were they running around Brazil?
Yeah. And they were saw by dozens of people.
Wow! And what did they look like?
Ooh, they were very strange. They were small. They had red eyes, very bright red eyes. Their skin were like brown in color, and with like a liquid, like they were sweating. And they have 3 horns on their head. So but they were very, very, very fast. One of the creatures was very fast, and but they were
fast or fat?
Fast or
fast? Not fat. Fast. Speed.
Fast. Okay. Heard. Okay. Here, I got a picture on the website of what these.
Yes.
The 3 horns. That's for them.
3 horn. We wonder if this horn was like a helmet, and but the witness says that no, it's not a helmet. It was part of their body. So we think there were some kind of
interesting. Okay, that's fascinating. And so they probably have some kind of radar or something they can see the whole planet. They knew its trajectory, where it was going to crash. Yeah, I'm just
they knew from the beginning.
They brought it down, or it was going to crash.
No, the UFO crashed. We have 2 witnesses. Owner of a farm that saw the UFO was like a cylinder shape with smoke in a back part, very slow, and then they heard a very strong noise. And 2 days after the crash, the city of Virginia, many people in Virginia saw another UFO hover in the city. Looks like looking for something. So I think that the friends of the aliens went to trying to rescue them, but they were already out of the city.
Yeah, we've heard of cases like that. They come back and they want their people, and they want the bodies, some kind of negotiation going on. And there's a lot more exchanges with our, whoever it is, whoever's in charge of the planet, right? They're talking to extraterrestrials, so they're having these negotiations, and we're down here, guys. I hope someday this whole thing comes out very convoluted and complicated. People know, and they act like it's. I heard that a lot of these things are not crash, but some of them are deliveries.
Well, was the craft broken? Did it show damage, or was it all something you could ascertain? You made a noise, but was it broken or scratched?
Yeah, the UFO was broken in the back part of their shape of their aircraft, and we have the witness of 2 militaries that touched the object to put in the truck. But they still on Brazilian army, so they cannot, appear. We have this their testimony on tape, but still they are still an army. One of them is a colonel, and the other one's a general. So they cannot say nothing until they left the army. But they told us that they are sure that that's not human-made object as well.
Right.
I wondered if there was radiation report that accompanied this.
There's no radiation report. We don't find any type of kind of radiation or some kind of contamination. We know that the militaries were wearing gloves and masks, but we don't know if some kind of radiation were detected. They should try to identify that, but I don't think they did.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, that is a good thing to consider. We, like in our science fiction, if you go out in space, you come in and you go through the decontamination. Yet we have these reports of craft that have been crashed on Earth, and are they unleashing viruses and bacteria, and they're crashing. It makes you wonder.
No, I've had just a number of people that get radiation burns from being too close to a saucer.
Right, but are they using radioactive type propulsion systems, or is it just from being in space? Is there radiation? What makes the radiation be on the craft? Do you have any ideas? Either of you. More questions.
No, I think that there are several things, but the first hypothesis that you said, Janet, is it's something with the propulsion, and that's a good hypothesis. It may have something to do with the way they make their craft move.
Right.
Yeah, they have some kind of energy that we still don't control it, or we don't know, because they can make it speed from 5,000 kilometers per hour and stop, and then move and change their direction very, very fast. So their technology is far beyond our knowledge.
So, any more questions on that before we go on to the next one? Anything else you want to add to that case? So that was what was that case called? The
Virginia case. No, I will not say much more because I have to read the book.
Okay, yeah, the teaser. Go buy the book. Now, here's Operation Rato.
Oh, this is a beautiful case. Well, there's a lot of original photos of the UFOs in my book. Original photos took by the Brazilian Force. This happened in 1977 in north of Brazil, when several cities, for example, Colares in Pará State, were invaded by some type of spacecraft. Well, what this spacecraft did, they shot beams of light and the people. In a man, this beam of light hit it in a leg, and the woman over the breast. And when this beam of light hit the people got anemia, and they went to the doctor. And doctor said, "Well, you are suffering of anemia. What happened?" And the people told, and the person there, the people told them, "Well, I hit by chupa-chupa. Chupa-chupa is like a suck-suck. They call these UFOs chupa-chupa because they shoot this beam of light and suck the bloody energy, something like that." And many of the city were get like ghost cities because the people who live in the town, they were so afraid. And the mayor of the Colares asked the Brazilian Force to investigate because it was some kind of UFOs in the sky. that are hurting people. And the Brazilian Air Force sent a crew headed by Captain Holanda. He was the captain of the Brazilian Air Force. And they started to investigate the case, to interview the witnesses, and they decide to camp in some places and some beaches to see if they can see something. And they saw a lot. They saw a lot of UFOs. They saw all the activity that was happening in that city. And they took dozens of photos and they shoot 22 hours of film of the UFOs. Well, this operation began on September, October in 1977. And when it was in December of 1977, Captain Holanda had many evidence, like photos, reports, films, and he went to headquarters of Brazil headquarters in Pará. But to his surprise, his commander told him, well, the operation is closed. And his, why is closed? We are so close to get contact with some kind of race that's not human. And his commander said to him, well, this operation is closed, so you are dismissed. Years later, Captain Holanda discovered that the operation was closed for the Brazilian army, but again, the United States got involved, and they continue to investigate what happened in Colares in the Pará State from 77 to 82. So they stayed in Brazil jungle from 77 to 82. What happened to the photos? Well, many of the photos we have now, many of these photos is in my book. But the film, the 22 hours of the films are missed. We don't know what it is. The Brazilian Air Force claim that they don't know what it is. In my opinion, I think that the American government or the American Army or Air Force, they took all the films and the rest of the photos and all kind of evidence took with him.
Yeah, they always do stuff like that.
And they must have some type of cooperation. Well, we give you the information, you have access to investigate. We don't. Well, the Brazilian, to be very honest, the Brazilian don't care much about it. Well, we have a UFO in our hand, aliens in our hand. If you were a we were a smart nation, smart governments, we use it to develop some kind of technology, but we prefer to exchange it.
Yeah. Wow. So my last question is going to be about disclosure, but there's one more case I want to talk about. The Ubatuba?
Yeah, Ubatuba case. Ubatuba case, yes, it's a UFO that exploded over a beach of Ubatuba in São Paulo state. That happened in 1957. A UFO appeared over the beach and then exploded. Most part of the pieces, debris, reached the water and sink it. but small pieces of the UFO landed, got in the sand, and some of these samples were sent to a newspaper in Rio de Janeiro. Well, to analyze this debris, they had to destroy it. So all the pieces in Brazil were destroyed, but the results of the analysis shows that these debris contain 99.9% of magnesium. That is impossible. Wow. It's impossible to find on Earth. It's impossible to create this pure magnesium in some kind of industry. It's impossible. So the analysis shows that this element was extraterrestrial origin.
So, are you still investigating cases?
Yeah, I am. Well, we still investigating the night. Now I'm investigating a case of a film that made in Brasilia of a UFO at night. And we still investigate because I have to go to the place to take photos during the day and during the night to investigate. Just a fresh new case. I just got it last week. So I already talked to him. And it's a very interesting case. It's an object, very bright in the sky, very bright, that makes some maneuvers, but we cannot say nothing yet because we have to see if it's a drone or a helicopter or something like that. But I'm investigating cases every time that I have case, I investigate it.
And now we have all these drones, so you have to be, as much as UFOs, you have to go out a drone. All these amateur drones everywhere, plus military drones. So
and the drones every day have more technology. They can be very fast and stop. Yeah, they have lights. Some don't have. Some doesn't have lights. Some have lights like a flying disc. So it's our job is getting harder and harder.
Yeah, you would imagine. Yeah. You have a question, honey? Go ahead.
I just wonder if you have any sense of the crafts being creatures sometimes.
Yeah, we've heard about some of the craft appear to be sentient. The craft can be driven by a human or a being putting their hands like in a driver's, like a little indentation, and they drive it with their mind. What are you finding about that? How these are these?
Well,
they need time. Yeah, go ahead.
I think they control it, using hands or telepathy or some kind, because the UFO that crashed in Roswell, the aliens didn't touch any controllers. It was just controlled. The spacecraft was controlled by mind. They discovered about that. I still don't have much information how they control it. The case that I studied, because I didn't go that deeper in that aspect, but I think they well, if I say that we have been visited by 70 types of aliens, well, some of them must use the hands, some of them use the brains. Well, I don't know. I really don't know.
Have you correlated what kind of craft, which type of alien, pilot, flyer, habit?
Oh.
Like I heard that the cigar-shaped craft or the reptilian craft, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but when I was a kid in '66, I saw a very large cigar-shaped craft that was low. It was just treetop, and I could actually see the beings in the windows. It was like windows, and they could see them looking out.
How big was it?
Well, they were treetop, and I didn't.
Real big.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
All I could see was that humanoid. It looked like people, but they were different looking. I wasn't close enough that I could really see what was the difference, you know. But it was like, well, that's not really quite human, but it's definitely some kind of being, some kind of figure. And then we were in telepathic communication, and what happened was it stopped all the traffic. Like I lived on a street that would get cars, you know, about every couple of minutes, right? 5 minutes or something. And there was a bus that came down past the street, and all that stopped, and even the crickets. It was in summer, and the crickets stopped making noise. So it was this eerie silence. And I first felt it like a tickling in the back of my head, like an energy. And so, we still there? So anyway, I turned around, and that's when I saw the craft, and then I wasn't afraid. It's really interesting. You would think you would be afraid. There's strange craft, right? But I was just in awe, and I was looking at it, and then it just stayed there forever. And I said, "Well, listen, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed." It's crazy. How do you break off contact, right? I'm not going to stand here all night. I'm going to go in. I'm tired. It was like 10 o'clock, right? And I said, "Well, that's reptilians." It's like, how do you know what species is in what ship?
It's difficult to answer because I wrote a book about UFO typology. I tried. Whoa.
Interference. Are you back?
Yeah. Well,
interesting.
Okay,
so you're right.
Yeah. I wrote a book about UFO typology, and I tried to identify something that could let me know what kind of alien drives, let's say, pilots that kind of alien, that kind of UFO, and I couldn't not find it because I could not find any evidence that came related that type of UFO with that type of alien. I simply cannot find any information of that. Should be a very good information, but I haven't.
And as an experiencer, I would sometimes just find myself on board a craft, and so I didn't know what it looked like from the outside. I'm in the inside, right? And it's like, how do you get the information? But it seems like they teleport you. Some people have the experience of being like Travis, who was lifted into the craft, and they slowly beam them up or something. And sometimes I find myself it even takes a little bit like, where am I, right? And then it's like, oh, okay. A lot of times when you ask questions, they answer them, but it's all telepathic, right?
Yeah. But we cannot
ask them questions. Go ahead.
But we cannot claim that that type of alien is the only one that pilot that type of UFO. It's like on Earth. If I saw you driving a Corolla, I cannot claim that you will only drive a Corolla. You can drive a Honda,
right.
or another person can drive a Corolla as well.
And sometimes they work together. So
yes. You drive a car in the United States, you can drive another car in Brazil.
Right. So, yeah. Well, this is our last minute. What would you like to say about how people can contact you, or where you're going to be presenting, whatever you want to, you have the final minute. It's all yours. Go ahead. Okay, never mind. I've been corrected. Okay, what else do you want to know, Thiago, before our time is up?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you the opportunity to be here. And, well, people can contact me through my media channels like YouTube and Facebook that are on page of the show. There's already there, and my emails are there. And I hope that people enjoy the book because there's a lot of amazing cases in the book that many of you never heard of before. So I encourage people to well, it's not expensive. It's expensive to Brazil because dollar and reais is very, very well. $1 is 5 reais, so it's very expensive to buy here in Brazil. But it's not an expensive book. It's a very good book. It's, as I said, more than 500 pages and 300 photos, original photos and illustration. So I think that this book covers a great part, the great cases in Brazil. And I think that the reader is going to like it.
Yeah, I think it's worth getting just see photos, all those original photos. That's amazing. Rarely can you get that many original photos. People are always stretching to get that type of information into their books. And you have another book in the works? And keep going?
Yes, I have a book about UFOs during the wars. First and Second War, the Korea and Vietnam, that I want to write in Portuguese. And probably I'm going to translate my alien type, guide of alien type to English. I'm just talking with Philip Mantle to publish it. So you're going to have my book about the alien typology in English, so you can see it, the drawings and the cases.
Great.
Excellent. Yes, that'll be great. So, are we off? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you all. I like it a lot.